Is more revenue on the top of your business goal list this year? Well, you won't get there by guessing what or when you're going to launch, promote, and sell things. You have to know where you're going. My name is Anne Samoylov, and I've been supporting and strategizing online course launches for clients, myself, and students for over a decade. And I want to help you get your big idea out to the world too. Whether you're a coach, an artist, a consultant, or you just have a course you want to get in front of more of the right people. Well, I welcome you, friend, to the Fearless Launching Show. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the very first episode of Season 7 and of 2024. Hallelujah, we made it, right? You're going to hate me for asking you this today because it's such a beginning of the year kind of question. But what do you want to accomplish in your business this year? Now, if make more revenue is on the top of your list for the year, if you did all those goal setting classes, then you're going to want to listen up for the next few minutes because we're going to do 4 things together. This is like a little mini masterclass, except you're going to be where you are, I'm going to be where I am, and that's that. So we're going to do 4 things together. First, I'm going to talk you through deciding what it is you actually want out of this year. Then you're going to decide some of the activities that are going to get you there. Maybe all of the activities that are going to get you there. Number 3, I'm going to ask you to throw out the stuff you definitely don't want to do, but then we're going to look back on them. I'll tell you what we're going to do. And number 4, then we're going to get everything and we're going to put everything together into a clear kind of trajectory for your year. I'm trying not to use the words plan or map, but does that sound good? If so, keep listening. Now, today is not an exhaustive planning episodes. I have tons of those episodes. I'm going to put some below in the show notes. So definitely check out there if you're like, I need to deep dive on planning right now. But today I want to share some prompts with you, some things to get you started so you can start making that map and making that plan for the year. One caveat and one little side note is that I know some people don't like to plan their whole year. I know some people don't even say that it's a bad idea, but I'm not going to tell you today to set specific dates. And I think that's the difference between what I'm asking you to do and what maybe you're thinking you need to do. We're going to look at this as a map of the destinations you're going to reach at various points during the year. The journey may change as you discover things during launches, when you start promoting things, when you start creating things, when you start delivering things, but your map puts you on a path for the year that you can change. And I'm going to give you some strategies for doing that at the end of the episodes. Now, I think some people think that setting a map, really gets into where people don't like to plan, but I think some people think that setting that map for such a long time in advance sets you up for failure or disappointment maybe. But I say that if you look at it like you are setting a direction for yourself and know that things will change, great, they must change. Well, you'll be excited to see what happens instead of worried that you won't live up to everything. And I think that's the shift here. You want to be excited about what is going to unfold. You're putting yourself in a direction. And yes, life, business, different things are going to have you making different decisions along the way. Just know that and let's get into motion. So setting dates actually allows you to get into motion, allows you to start taking action. That's why sometimes, we're not going to go so laser focused and talk about a specific launch plan today, but I do tell people to set a launch date for themselves because it gives you that timeline. It puts you on a path to get things done for that. You might decide to change that date. You might decide to postpone, or you might decide to stick to it. But the date, the month, setting what you're going to do in a specific period of time, it puts you in motion. It gives you a very clear to-do list for those things you're going to do in that time. All right? Okay, off the soapbox. Here I go. All right. So, number 1, get out that piece of paper or open your notes app, whatever works for you. First things first, we're going to get out of our heads what it is we actually want to do this year? What do we want to have happen, right? What is it that you want to happen? Where are you headed? Those are some really good questions to just get you writing out like what you see for your business, what you see for your life, and make sure you're writing both and they can weave in and out of each other, right? What kinds of things will you be offering? And what kind of platforms will you be on? What kinds of content will you be sharing? Maybe it's all completely new. Like you used to do a podcast, no more podcasts. You're going to just do reels or whatever. You get to think about what you're going to do. Is it completely new? Are you improving what you've already started? Are you doing a little mix of both? Now, either way is fine, but I do encourage whatever path you take this year to use a mix of things you have already created and have some momentum on, and only one new thing, if possible, in each area. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. Now, if you're still writing stuff down in your notes app, well, pause and then pick it back up. Let's talk about what you suspect you'll need to do to get there. If you're looking to increase revenue, you'll need to increase visibility, period. And there are many ways to do that. But here's what I'm going to recommend. If you want to increase revenue, you'll need to either build or grow your audience or increase prices. So you can just have the same amount of people just paying more, or increase the number of things your current audience might buy. So give more things that same group of people will buy. If you want to build your audience, and I actually do think having that as a driver every single year is a great thing to do for yourself, because things happen over the life of a mailing list of your audience. People grow, people change, people leave, people come back. And it's always nice to have a kind of like the fresh audience coming in, people who don't know you. And it really allows you to reintroduce yourself and get used to doing that. If you want to build your audience, then you're going to want to think about what type of weekly piece of content are you going to create? Written, video, audio, photo, and delivering it to your audience on a regular basis. Now, when I say content in this form, I am not talking about being a content creator on social media. I am saying on your own platform, or a platform that lends itself to longer form content, like a blog, like YouTube, because you can always embed that on your own site. Audio, like a podcast, which you can also be driving people to your home base and delivering it to your audience that way. I also think, so I love my podcast because it's so low-fi for me. I don't need to get dressed, even though I am today. And I don't need to have any special place to do it. I just stepped into my walk-in closet. I have my laptop up on my shelf with some clothes around me as padding for the sound. And that's it. Plus, I send it over to YouTube every single time. So there's a few other destinations it goes to. So there's some automatic sharing and sending out of the podcast. So you decide what format, what place works well for you, but try to think of a place off social, because social does need to be some sort of part of your marketing strategy. But in this case, I want you to make sure that you have that weekly piece of content. Now, I know there are also tons of ways to get visible without showing your face. And this is what I wanted to talk about, because that can really be a block for people. So look for something that is easy for you to do, even if you have little kids running around, a job, a partner, maybe someone who might pop into the room unexpectedly. Think about your life and what fits with your life. Each week, you're going to publish that weekly content. You're going to also want to promote that content and include some sort of call to action in that content. If you're growing your email list, if you've got products to sell, maybe you want to do both. You're going to want to be building both. If you have an email list, you can send them emails through an email marketing service provider, then great, do that as well. Repetition in your established consistency. It doesn't have to be anybody else's consistency. Your established consistency and repetition in your messaging is the name of the game. You decide how often you'll publish and post and promote, and you just try to stick to that. Now let's talk about what you don't want to do this year. What do you not want to do this year? I want you to try to think through, are there types of launches you don't want to do? Are there types of content you're like, no way, or I don't want to do long form content anymore, Anne? Are there platforms you want to avoid? Or is there something that you've discovered that you really want to do? But think about the things you want to avoid in this sense. And then once you've written those down, this may take a little bit of time, but I want you to really just look at that list and just put a mark next to anything where your ideal customer might actually be there, and you probably should be there as well. Because we might have to come back to that later, and you might have to, think about that a little bit, because just because you don't want to be there doesn't mean you shouldn't at least find a way to be there that doesn't cause too much harm to you or mentally. I know that it sucks when you have to do things that you don't want to do, but sometimes we got to do that, right? Next step, I want you to take out a piece of paper and just draw 12 boxes, okay? Because we are going to mark some things on these months now. There's two things you're going to do. First, I want you to mark off any months that you're going to likely be off, more unavailable. And I want to say, think kids' vacations, summer or holiday time, events that you might be going to, travel, whatever. Mark those as off. You might have I'm going to be off in July and August or part of August, and I'm going to be off in the end of December. Just make a note of those times. This is something that I've always said to mark first, because I think that we forget when we're making our plan. We're like, wait a minute, I'm not even going to be working most of that month. Okay, step 5. Now, on your piece of paper with the 12 boxes, I want you to go through each and every month, wherever you are now. It doesn't matter. And you're going to write down 3 things. First, the main freebie or free thing that you have to offer that you're going to promote during the month. You're also going to put the main paid thing you're going to promote during the month. And you're going to put one thing you're going to promote, whether it's an affiliate thing or not, for someone else's stuff that you're going to share. Now, again, few caveats here. You don't have to promote someone else's thing for dollars, and you don't have to do it every single month. Just, it is nice. There's a goodwill aspect to it that I love, and I like supporting other people. I like supporting entrepreneurs and people who are doing great things for entrepreneurs. You also don't have to switch what you're doing. So you might say, for January, February, March, I'm going to just focus on this. Or from January to June, I'm going to focus on this. It can be totally up to you. I find that switching things up every quarter isn't a bad thing to do, because honestly, it's giving you a little bit of a pattern interrupt, and it stops the boredom that does come in. If you're like, yep, first couple of months, I'm focused on this product. Next 3 months, I'm focused on that product. Next 4 months, I'm focused on that product. You get to decide this. Once you have that finished, now you've got that, I want you to kind of keep an eye on that. Have your calendar on one side and go back to that content that you're going to create weekly. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a podcast, or I'm going to do a little mini video every single week. Or, oh yeah, I'm going to be on social. I'm going to try to post 3 times a week. You now have the overarching themes to cover in all of the above and any of those based on what you are actually selling. So, in January, all your content needs to be about that freebie and that paid thing. And you don't have to worry about making your content be about what other people are selling, but you do know what you're selling. So now you can grab, so product 1, let's say you're focused on for the first few months of the year. You can now create content that gives value around that topic or related to that topic in some way. I think in Fearless Launching, the first iteration of it, I called the mini topics. And I swear, I was like the first year of blogging, and that's what I was doing. I was just talking about launching. Every blog post was about launching, and it was about some sort of topic that I talked about in Fearless Launching, but in a much smaller way, right? I just pulled out like mini topics. And the great thing is, once you've created this content, especially if it's YouTube, or if it's a podcast, if it's blog posts, that stuff builds up a library of content that you can keep resharing to support those products as you grow, as you continue throughout the year, or maybe you circle back around. So maybe there are some months where you're not even going to you're going to, have like a little, what is it? You do your season, then you have a little hiatus, right? And maybe during the hiatus is when you share the content you've already created in the past quarter. So that is your marketing strategy. You've literally right now, if you've gone through and you've filled out all those 12 boxes, or perhaps not, maybe you've got some boxes you're not doing anything, but let's say you've completed this exercise, you've got a marketing strategy. You've just marked out your primary marketing activities for the next 12 months. Now, if you're worried that these might change, don't, because here's what you're going to do next. There's going to be, let's see, how many things do I have here? 4 things. Number 1, monthly review of what worked and what didn't. Plain and simple. Put it on your calendar and go through and look at what you did every single day during those, at least during, not every single day in detailed, but look overall at what you did and did it work? Did you make the money you thought, And to that end, you need to, number 2, set some targets. If you're going to go for more revenue, how much on average do you want to make each month? If you want to build your list, how many new subscribers do you want? If you have a YouTube channel, do you want to post a certain amount per month or week? Do you want a certain amount of subscribers by a specific date? Set the targets, because then those monthly reviews become not easier, but they are, because you're like, oh, haven't hit that yet, but I'm doing great. I'm on track. Bam. Okay. Now, once you've done that monthly review, you've set those targets so that you have something to review. And now that you've set your marketing plan for each month, now you have that monthly plan. So once you have that monthly plan, you can actually dig in even more. And maybe you just do this month by month, where you dig into your weekly schedule. Do you want to batch your content for that month in just 1 week? Do you want to batch it at the beginning of the month? Do you want to just do it every week? You'll do a couple episodes. How will you know what it is you're achieving at each and every month? Okay. So this is also part of setting targets, is that if you know you're going to deliver 1 episode a week or 1 thing a week, and you're going to do all 4 of them at the beginning of the month, that's a target in itself, right? So decide if that's what you want to do. Now, your monthly plan might also include post a reel every single day of the work week, post a carousel post every 2 days, or every week, once a week. And that's it. And it has to, all of that content will come from what you're creating in your weekly content, in your weekly published longer form content. Okay. Number 4, check in with the plan and the targets often. So if you want, at the end of a week, just say, okay, my podcast went out. I did all my reels. I did my carousel posts. I promoted, I promoted my freebie. I did all that, and this happened. You can still do that. You can check in as often as you want and track what you want, right? And that's it. Okay. So if you want to review any of this, just go back, listen again. And I know this wasn't a super exhaustive planning session, but I hope that it's given you something to think about in terms of your next 12 months. I put some resources in the show notes below, so if you want to read more, listen more, or get a more detailed process, make sure to check all those links out. And I want to thank you again so much for hanging out with me today on the podcast. I will see you next Thursday with a brand new episode. And if you want to know when that goes live, make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening right now. Obviously, we're not obviously, but we're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you know that. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, great. You're listening on Apple Podcasts. Just make sure you are subscribed wherever you listen. Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatevs. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your week. Have a great rest of your day. And if you have any questions whatsoever, definitely reach out to me. You know I love it. You know I love chatting with you. And I can't wait to hear about your 12-month plans.